My guest today is Docherty here on the MO sessions, and I'm excited to have him here, talk about a few things, and hopefully we get something from this episode. Doc, thank you for being here.
Benny, thank you for having me on. This is going to be fun.
So let's go. I like to start in the beginning. We go all the way back. So you started magic at 9 years old. What was it about that moment that you learned from, never let go? You got the magic bug and you didn't turn back.
Yeah, I think it was a couple different things happening around that time as a kid that just really fascinated me. I think that we have memories, like we remember things happening more of a, not a literal, in front of us state, but we do have those, because we don't have anything except our memory. So it looks like a dream or a sequence and little snapshots of stuff that happened. And for me, it was seeing a magician in some sort. It was a fair or something or carnival, vanish a lit cigarette. He had his sleeves rolled up, and that just really, I mean, I bugged my dad for a couple days. And I didn't realize how that was done until many, many, many years later either. That really just,
Right.
and then I think mom and dad knew that I had this interest in magic. And I remember getting a magic set. I believe it was an Adams brand magic set. They went to, I think they went to Puerto Rico or something on a vacation. And this was probably prior to 9 years old that I shown some interest. It was really about that 8 or 9 range that really it kicked off, and I got serious. Not serious, but it was
Yeah.
more than just a curiosity. I wanted to go to the magic shop. I wanted to
Right.
watch magic on TV,
Yeah.
and it sort of went from there. And then one other thing was Mr. Wizard. I don't know if you're old enough to remember that TV show, but Nickelodeon used to have a show on in the mornings called Mr. Wizard, and he did like science,
Yeah.
tricks and stuff. And he also had one that was called Science Magic, and it had some really cool science magic tricks in it. So
Yeah. I
uh,
remember Mr. Wizard for
and
sure.
that was it. It started right there. The bug bit. And then I found out there was a magic shop in Charlotte. I live about an hour west of Charlotte, and I found out that my dad said there's a magic shop in Charlotte, and I remember taking a trip to the magic shop with him. And when you walk into a magic shop for the first time, especially 30 or 40 years ago,
Right.
they look completely different than they look now.
Oh, yeah.
And that goes the same to say for the people before us. Those magic shops look complete. It just the evolution of the way the inside of a magic shop just if you're interested in magic and then you walk in and you see all this stuff in front of you, it's like it's really amazing. So
Yeah.
I remember getting like 8 trick decks of cards, and uh, yeah, that definitely started it.
Was there a point during your journey that you felt like this isn't just a hobby anymore? Like we're going all in now. Like we're buying all the books and we're buying all the, you know, multiple decks of cards to have on hand because we're going to be ripping them and doing
No,
whatever.
I mean, not really. I mean, I
Mm,
guess at one point I remember going to my first convention, and I didn't really, I wasn't drawn to some of the stuff that other people were drawn to, like interested in it. I mean,
yeah.
um, I really didn't like the stage stuff, so I was definitely card and close up oriented once I figured out that, but I also was a big fan, when I was 14, 15, 16, even, earlier than that. I mean, Copperfield was on every year,
Oh, yeah.
and his close up sequences were awesome. The way he, uh, it was just awesome to see that. And also, the world's greatest magic was hitting, TV about that time too, a little bit after that. But it just,
So good.
I just, I didn't see myself. Yes, I wanted books. That
Hmm.
was out of all the stuff there. I wanted books, and
Hmm.
that collection's gone and come and gone and
Yeah.
come and gone a couple times since then. Because I've looked at different priorities and said, well, I'm never going to do the
Right.
21 card trick for lay people. So when the focus started going to, I can hang out and fool magicians, and they can fool
Hmm.
me, and we can have really good fun doing that. But then it's not gonna, get me booked at, or sell a
Yeah.
ticket to the lay.
Right.
people or the public that that's where the focus, I guess, the last 20 years or 15 years was really more focused on that. Now,
Yeah.
I did own a magic shop for a short time. So I guess in that sense, I got the best of both worlds for about 2 years. I was able to get the things that I really wanted to see and also
Yeah.
sell them, and then
Yeah.
get the books that I really wanted to read and also sell them. So that was when you say all in, I guess inside and mentality wise, it was all
It
in
was,
on.
yeah. I understand that completely.
I mean, I don't know if other I'm sure everybody goes through this, stage of getting really into something and setting it down for a little bit and then getting back into it really, really heavy and setting it down. Not really
Mhm.
setting it down, but it's just not on the forefront of what's going on. You still think about it, you still do it, but it's just not as consuming as it was before. And I think those small little breaks, because for me, I think that, you know, most of my friends and stuff have other hobbies other than
Yeah.
I'm a drummer. I like to draw. I'm a tattoo
Yeah.
aficionado kind of thing with
Yeah.
when it comes to, and so I like to sort of mess around with other stuff when nothing, during COVID. I didn't read as much magic as I thought I was going to read. I still worked on it, but I wasn't really, because it was nothing. There was no challenge, I guess is the best
Yeah.
word. There was no like, oh, I need to come up with this for this. I love that kind of pressure.
Yeah. That's a really interesting aspect to need, like working under pressure or the desire to create. I felt like during COVID, for me, it was gain knowledge and execute it. So, like, I was buying I mean, half of my book collection now is stuff I bought during the pandemic because I was really diving into Marlowe really hard at that time.
Oh wow.
Uh,
That's a
to
good
the
thing to dive into if you've got a lot of time too, because
Yeah, I mean, I had Marlowe's Spade book by itself as a pamphlet, and then I got the rest of the pamphlets, and then the books, and then Mint, and then I bought
yeah.
the magazines,
Whew, that is a
and then
journey that
and then I was
doesn't
in, and then I met Steve Reynolds, and me and Steve Reynolds really got off really well. And I went to New Orleans to go see him, and yeah, I was in
Steve's
Marlowe
a Steve's a
super
great
heavy.
guy. It's funny that you said that, and here's our well, this is only like 2 degrees of separation from Steve Reynolds. It was funny because I had just closed the magic shop, or it was yeah, the magic shop had just closed down recently, and Steve was actually, I'd met Steve through, who did I think it was the second deal, maybe the website,
Mm-hmm.
or
Jason Alford's website, right?
correct, yeah, or it was probably seeing him at a convention, maybe, I'm not sure,
Mm-hmm.
but we met somehow 20 years ago, and he was on his way from Philly to go just visit John. He
Mm-hmm.
was just going to visit. He figured he would stay there for a little bit, but then head back. And then he didn't head back. He stayed with me for probably 4 or 5 days. I remember, you know, I had the orange book of Marlowe's, the card magic of Ed Marlowe,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw the two videos, the Cardition and what, I
Mm-hmm.
can't remember the other one, but I didn't see the real work of Marlowe until I met Steve Reynolds, and
Yeah.
he is a walking encyclopedia. And
Mm-hmm.
if you want to talk about true passion and dedication, when you asked me that question about when did I go all in, I think Steve went all in many,
Yeah.
many, 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 many times over.
Yeah. Steve's an incredible teacher. He's a distant teacher, but I talk to him very often, and I'm always asking him about Marlowe. And every now and then, Marlowe is such a it's like the ocean. It's just so you can go so deep into Marlowe and like learn, however far you want to go with it, you can. Right now, like with the new Marlowe magazines reprint out, a lot of people are some guys are beginners and asking if they should start with Marlowe magazines, and I read comments and people are like, absolutely not. Like that's like
Right.
slow down, let's start here and then we'll get there. And I wish that was prefaced a little bit more when they were put out. But
I think that's just the, kind of the nature of the beast when some of this material is on the chances of being lost forever.
hmm
We try to, and Vanishing Ink has done just a wonderful job of, sort of swooping in and being the next, you know,
yeah,
Kaufman and
preserving
Green.
it and
Yeah, but I mean, because for me, growing up, and when I really got into magic books, it was basically stuff Kaufman and Greenberg were printing,
hmm
and that was where the good stuff was. That when they came out with a book, you knew that material in that book was going to be really, really good. And, you had the magazines and stuff, and a lot of those magazines get lost,
yeah,
and going back to just your journey too with Marlowe. And I love it's funny when you get a Marlowe guy and a Vernon guy in a room together. And I
yeah,
love it because I think both of them are standing on each other's shoulders. I believe that
yeah,
it goes back to, you know, Marlowe, in my eyes, my opinion, Marlowe was not really performing. He did
hmm
other stuff. He was a problem solver. And I
hmm
think that I like the way that Steve said that he likes problems, and it's
yeah,
how you solve those problems. And then
hmm
instead of exploring one route, he wanted to explore all the routes. And I think when that happens, some crossover is going to happen.
yeah,
And Vernon, on the other hand, was not in the same position socially or financially or professionally to rely on something else. And so he was, cutting silhouettes, and then
yeah,
also really took the magic to let's make it look natural. And it was completely two avenues of teaching that
yeah,
crisscross back and forth so many times.
yeah. Yeah, I've had many conversations regarding Marlowe and Vernon, and yeah, I got tired of them. So then I was like, let me look into Bertram. Let me look at Ross Bertram, and I bought the Bertram books, and then that
Yeah.
exploded my world. And you gotta.
Yeah.
For me, it's like if you're gonna be a magician or a wizard or a conjurer, whatever terms you want to put around it, magician. I just feel like that shouldn't matter. Magic wasn't. It's
It
not
shouldn't it
specified.
shouldn't be a
Yeah.
competition, and it shouldn't be if
No.
you're a Vernon school or you might like
Yeah.
Vernon's way of thinking versus
Yeah.
Marlowe's, or
Yeah.
vice versa. But
Absolutely.
it was funny last night. I had a show last night, and it was a group of older friends that have already started their professional careers, and there was only one person out of that group. Well, there was two people out of the group of six that did not have that had not gotten married, and they
Okay.
were a little bit older and more into their lives, and they had they didn't really
Mhm.
want to do a bachelor party and then a separate
Right.
bachelorette party. So they just got all their friends together, 11 people, because there was one person that still is by
Mhm.
himself, but
Yeah.
11 people. And it was a bachelorette party. One of the gentlemen there was a teacher. He taught, and he also went to magic camp. He said he went to magic camp, and I thought
Okay.
that was really cool. And we talked about, do when you learned all these tricks, do you still? And I was like, I think that the journey is still keeping. The point of that is
Yeah.
to keep going, and you should look at everything as a whole,
Mhm.
and take what you think is good, and then put your personality stamp on that. And that's how new acts come out. That's how
Yeah.
new magic is born. That's how new experiences are born for the audience.
Yeah. I want to talk about something interesting about you is you were about 17 years old and you were working at a theme park. You were doing 8 shows a day, is that correct?
Yeah, the uh so my friends here that were much older owned a comic book store in the
Okay.
town I grew up in, and his other buddy owned a DJ equipment. They knew that I liked magic. I liked baseball cards, and I liked a little bit of comic books, but it was mostly magic and baseball cards, and you know that kind of stuff. And Copperfield came, and we went to see Copperfield twice together. And I was 17, and I was a senior in high school, and the one friend told me that he saw via his brother that Carowinds is the theme park here in Charlotte, or it used to be Paramount. It was owned by Paramount, so it was a Viacom company. So it was a themed with Star Trek and Wayne's World and stuff like this, and they were having atmosphere performer auditions, and I didn't think that The night before, I was like, I'm not, I'm 7, I'm still in high school. And he's like, no, you should go. You should go just to see.
Mhm.
And I carried a briefcase full of magic into the studio, and I did every trick in my briefcase. And that was a Saturday, and at school on Monday, I got a phone call from my mom saying that Carowinds called and wants you to call them. They want to have you for the season. And it was
Wow.
one gentleman that one of the he was a younger he was the uh not the he was the assistant to the supervisor of the atmosphere department. The director was the changing boat. So no, give him a chance. He's young because and it goes back to the way performers think. This guy that was my yes to get in, he got a
Mhm.
yes when he was 17 to get into clown college.
Right.
And he just, I
Right.
guess, passed that little hello,
Yeah.
I'll pass this check because I see potential.
Mhm.
Boy, was that an eye-opening experience when I got to, go through the, just
Yeah.
the preseason rehearsals, learning about improv, learning about staging, learning about, because we did 8 shows a day. It was either 6 to 8. We did 2 stage shows because there was also another magician that we're still very very close friends. His name's Scott Link. I highly recommend checking out what he's done with a particular trick called the insurance policy. Is really cool, but he was older than me too. He's older. I walked in, was very intimidated, and you know, but he was a completely different type of performer than uh, what I was. So it was a very good mix, and we did 2 stage shows alternated. So there was 4 stage shows between the two of us, and then we also went around the park and we did 6 walk around sets throughout the day.
Wow.
So it was 8 different. The stage show was 30 minutes, and the walk around sets were 20. And in the heat of the summer, and in a theme park, stopping people to do magic is it was one of the best times of my life because it was the introduction to wait a minute, you don't have to go to college. That
Yeah, yeah.
college, you don't have to do a regular job. You can do fun
Yeah.
stuff and get paid. Because for me, it took me a long time to realize that athletes got paid and actors got paid. And, I had no clue growing up. I mean, my dad said they're getting paid to do this. Like, what are you talking? Like, this is their job. And I'm like,
Mhm.
I don't understand. It's like their job is to play football.
Yep.
And I just never, when I was a kid, I never really comprehended what my dad was really saying.
Mhm.
So it was a great introduction to that, and then it led. And I don't know if you got this research when you were looking me up and stuff. And this is a cool little side journey that I went on. But Carowinds did not hire anybody back the next year. They completely did away with the atmosphere department. So I had 1 year, and then I was the next year. I was I was almost 19 when that summer ended because I went a whole summer. I turned 18 there, so right before, uh, you know, 3 months before my 19th birthday, we realized, hey, they're not doing this. They're not going to do any kind of atmosphere stuff. They're scaling back the themed performers. And mom and dad said, "What do you want to do?" And I was like, "Well, I don't want to go to, I don't want to go to a job or a factory. I've got
Right.
too much creative stuff going on in my head."
Mhm.
And I always liked radio, so I went to broadcasting school, which was a technical broadcasting school, and got an internship within the 2 weeks and learned everything I needed to learn from the internship, and worked in radio for 3.5 years
That's very cool.
as a rock DJ. Started at a big AM station, and then ended up being a rock DJ for a couple years down at the
Mm,
beach. So
that's
it
cool.
sort of, I I still wanted to stay in this world of entertaining. I didn't want to leave that world.
Yeah.
And every time I do leave it, it's very depressing and very upsetting inside me. I can feel it.
Yeah.
It's just not what I feel like I was. I've had
Yeah.
many different jobs, and
Yeah.
when I'm doing this, it doesn't feel like I have a job. It feels like you have a purpose. I mean, that's pretty
Yeah.
much how you could say.
I feel the exact same way. I did 13 years in the restaurant industry, worked my way up from cleaning shit off the tables and going all the way up to, being restaurant manager and was offered operations manager. And then I really sat there and said, I'm not home enough. I have kids and a wife, and they're like, "Where are you for all the family events and all this other
Yeah.
stuff?" I said, let me reroute myself. And because even through the process, I took maybe like 8 year gap between magic, but I was always kind of like reading in the background. But I felt so out of place, like so bizarre. And even at my jobs, I would be like, "Oh, I do some magic. Do you want to see something real quick? Like, do you want to?" And like the hunger to like, perform magic. And like, I would tell people like I'm really a magician, and like, "What are you doing here?" And I'm like, "I actually don't know." Trying to get the
Well, that's
bills
such a
paid, I
tough
guess.
question. I mean, isn't that's the answer? I mean, I mean, I'm sure that uh, you were told that many times, and I remember here, what are you doing here, or what are you doing in this city?
Right.
And it's just when you hear those kind of remarks, it's humbling, but it's also like
Yeah.
they're right. I mean, what am I doing here? But yeah,
Right.
and there's other stuff that ties us to where we root ourselves, and I've worked in restaurant industry too, and I can tell you one thing: that is a really really tough industry to work and stay sane in. It's just not a very it's not a stress free environment all the time.
Yeah, what's interesting is the after effects of it, I think, are more expensive than actually working there. Just, there's like the shows like The Bear, and I watch like the chaos in the kitchen and everything, and I
Yes.
get like, not, I hate to say PTSD, but I look at that and I go, "Holy shit." So it's not just me who experienced that in the kitchen, where we're being yelled at and ticket times and all this other stuff, and the food's not coming out and customer service. And but at the same time, there's like a weird like love for it, where I'm like, I really thrived in the chaos, where I was like really clear minded and understood everything and was functioning. It was almost like automatic, kind of like an octopus grabbing all these things. And yeah, it's very strange.
But
Even now, I'm like, what was I doing?
yeah, but it takes I mean, you said it. I mean, I could hear the passion in there. You liked it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't believe anybody would stay unless they had to for, for financial reasons. But if they really, really didn't like it, I'm sure that, they would
Oh no.
pursue other stuff. But you have to have some sort of passion to, especially if you're on the line or something like that, because that is not, I was front of the house. So it was a completely different ball game.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
it's just a tough industry. And it's just, I think that uh, every person considering wanting to go into should read or look into Anthony Bourdain and just listen. I think he really laid it down the way it is,
Yeah.
and it's just a
Well,
cutthroat industry.
no, yeah, no, it's really interesting because Anthony Bourdain I love his whole, career. And if you understand it and have read the books, it's a lot like magicians or anyone in the creative fields. He had such a passion for it and such a drive to have dishes a certain way or have a restaurant run a certain way or even just explore the culture of being a chef and, somewhat the restaurant industry. Just like overall, like, and I think that was kind of part of his battle a little bit, was that like he just with himself being a certain way, and like he just wanted everything to be a certain way. And it's really interesting. And like as magicians, we study and we want our magic to
Yeah,
look a certain way, and we want it to have an impact on our audiences a certain way sometimes. And you
yeah.
know
I think that a lot of the times I mean, it's kind of emotional thinking about it. Just with that kind of when you just said that, that struggle.
yeah.
But it's also like the common trait I think that ties us all together, whatever service industry that we're in, is trying to connect with people because Anthony really enjoyed that. Sitting down and eating a meal with somebody was very important,
Hmm.
and I feel
Yeah.
like as a kid that was one of the I remember as a kid eating that family meal on Sunday at grandparents' house until
Yeah.
they passed, and then when that vanishes it does leave a little bit of a you don't have that in it, and it was all over a meal. It was just a
Hmm.
meal,
Yeah.
and when somebody takes a passion to connect, like a magician's, I want to connect. I want to
Yeah.
really connect to people.
Hmm.
And I think a chef and anybody in a service industry position like that to a certain level has a passion too, that they want to connect with people. They want to
Yeah.
bring people together.
When you were working at the theme park, you're on the street and you're on the stage. And as you kind of evolve from there, how do you feel the connection between working on the street and on the stage with your audiences? Did you see a difference? Was there a difference? Were you
Oh yeah.
creating a difference?
Oh, most definitely. I believe that yeah, this in essence, yes, the stuff at the theme park was street style magic. I didn't use a table. It was just approach and do pocket stuff. And
Mhm.
uh I consider that not the same as street magic now. Not what Blaine claimed. That was a completely
Yeah.
different thing. But a busker style magic
Mhm.
is completely different. And I think they go hand in hand. I mean, I don't think my character or my confidence as a performer would have ever come out of its shell if it wasn't for street magic, like on the actual
Mhm.
busking street. That
Yeah.
was way after Carowinds. That was into my 20s when I tried that, and that will scare the living what out of you
Mhm. When
because you
you
have.
were
Go ahead.
you took your busking over to Pack Square in Asheville. So, what do you feel the most human thing you've learned doing street magic in terms of busking, like Jeff Sheridan style, magic? What'd you learn the most out of that?
As in forms of magic, or just like in like a in
Both.
gosh, it's deep because
Yeah.
you know it, at the time. So to give a little bit more background,
Mhm.
I was learning about street magic via other stuff. Like I'd heard of Gazzo, but I'd heard of Gazzo through the Phantoms at the Card Table, the Walter Scott book.
Mhm.
And I didn't know that he was a street performer or a busker. And I really did. This was like 20 years ago. And I really didn't understand what a busker was or
Right.
anything. So I started looking into what that was and found out it was like, oh, you're performing magic for tips in front of, you're drawing your own crowd. And
Mhm.
it was very interesting to me and to my friend Chaston, like Chriswell, the traveling magician. So, and at the time, Charlotte Charlotte, North Carolina was allowing street performers to apply for a busker's license. And it was just coincidental at the same time. And
Mm.
but I think it was really they were more aiming towards music and stuff like that. Other than, but we went and the licenses really didn't mean anything. We still set up at the same places we set up, and it was really awkward because you got a lot of no's, you got a lot of people
Mm.
yelling at you, you got a lot of people just thinking that you were a scam artist. It was a very very strange, uncomfortable experience from the get go. I did not like it. I didn't enjoy it. I thought it was scary. I remember going, well, that's jumping ahead. Gazzo, when I had my magic shop, Gazzo was coming. I managed to get Gazzo coming through town as he was going to Florida. And he actually
Mhm.
stayed in North Carolina for like 2 weeks.
Oh
And
wow.
we did a master class of the cups and balls and street magic at my magic shop for a weekend with 10 other people, and it was an amazing weekend. And that next weekend, a few of us drove up to Asheville, and this was before Asheville really was popping. In the last 15 years, Asheville's not the same as it was 15, 20 years ago.
Right.
So you didn't have as many performers. You had them sporadically around town, but there's way, way more now than there was back then. So getting spots were much easier. And Gazzo didn't think there was enough people. And I think he did one set. And I had a friend there that was a juggler that had been doing juggling street shows for quite some time, even before I met him. And that night we, was going to go, the group that went up to the Asheville was going to go out and we were going to do our sets in different parts of town. And I remember putting my pouch on and, getting ready to start. And a little girl, boy walks up, brother and sister, it looks like. And the girl says, "You've got a bunch of lemons in your pouch. You're a cheater." And it angered me because I
Yeah.
worked so hard this whole weekend and
Mhm.
really was interested in learning this because I saw what Gazzo could do to the crowd. I saw how
Right.
Gazzo kept the crowd for 45 minutes and did 3 tricks.
Mhm.
Like, holy smokes, like,
Yeah.
that is amazing. And
Mhm.
I saw the people laughing, and I saw the connection that he was having with these people, and, I think a lot of people saw that, and that's why his act became so popular, but there's only one Gazzo. I mean, that's why
Yeah.
everybody else, there's other people that have gotten close and developed their own style that worked, but, there's only one Gazzo, and he was a master at it, and I guess that really helped me, get a
Yeah.
little bit more push until a friend of mine, his name is Craig Stone. He lives in Indianapolis now, but he's originally from California. He moved to the East Coast from the West Coast, from San Diego to North Carolina, and became part of the club, and we became really close friends. And he had bussed at Seaside Village and stuff um in in San Diego, and was a he knew how to draw a crowd. He knew how to be funny and
Mhm.
not creepy. And if it wasn't for Craig just saying, go out there and have fun, and we would go on busking trips to Asheville and set up. And this was 17 years ago, 18 years ago. We would maybe 15 to 16, I think. Cause
Yeah.
my kids were, so it'd be, yeah, like 15, 16 years ago. We would set up in Asheville. He would do a set, and then I would do a set. He would do a set, and I would do a set. And it was being able to see how he reacted and did not give one care if those people laughed at him,
Right.
cussed him. He kept the same, and it taught me how to be okay with people walking by. Like, you're
Yeah.
there for one purpose, is to get a show.
Yeah.
That's what you're there for. And then he also, really helped me with the fact of, don't go into it with any money in your head. Just go
Mhm.
into it to have fun, and then you'll come out, your personality will come out. And that really, those days with him prepared me for what happened when I actually moved to Asheville. It was, this was only 3 years after that. So 12 years ago, just the way life took me. I was in Asheville, basically living in a motel. I got dropped off with like $4,
Mhm.
and I bust every single day until I was able to get an apartment and get something established. I mean, that's the story. I mean,
Yeah.
it was a matter of survival at that point. And then I saw the other side of, I learned the technical stuff and the how to do it and stuff from the days with Craig, and just doing it
Mhm.
myself after that, and using what he taught me and what I experienced with him. But
Mhm.
when you're out there every day and you do see the other side of what street life is, it's, you've got groups of people that want to be there. You've got groups of people that want to live on the streets, and you've got groups of people that don't want to live on the streets, but are
Right.
unfortunately living on the streets.
Yeah.
And that's when the human spirit has to come in and go, wow, some of these people need help, and
Yeah.
some of them just want love. And
Yeah.
it's just, it wasn't that it was bad, but it also was it was eye opening to it was just eye opening. I mean, I could go and do a magic show on the street corner, but across the street at, another park or something, there was somebody going through it, like, how am I going to eat tonight? How am I going to
Yeah.
sleep tonight? And that was a really tough thing to sort of, grapple. And then as the travels, increase later on, and seeing the bigger cities, I mean, it's a really, that does bother me, when it comes to street performing now, which I haven't
Yeah.
done in kind of haven't done any kind of busking or street magic in the last, I'd say, 5 years, 7 years.
So I know you mainly as a card guy. I mean, I think most of the work that I've seen or read of yours was mostly cards. When did you start evolving? When did you kind of, or were
Well, it
you
was
always sort of well rounded with coins and cards and for
well,
close up?
it was a little bit of both. I mean, like I said, I was a until I until I realized who Marlo was and stuff. I really didn't get into cards as heavily. I mean, I knew some card tricks. I knew of certain people, and it was really that introduction to like Marlo and J.C. Wagner, John Bannon. I can't, Larry Jennings. I mean,
Yeah.
that was the card basis that really
Mhm.
pushed me my card stuff. But I was also, I remember practicing the floating rows back when I was 17 and 18.
Mhm.
My show at the theme park consisted of the amazing jumping dollar bill trick, the ickle pickle trick,
Okay, yeah.
which was where $1 bill is putting to one shot, and the signed dollar bill jumps to the other shot glass that's covered in us. It was a really really cool trick. I think I did that and rainbow ropes and just stuff that I would never do today. Maybe that jumping dollar bill trick, but
Yeah.
you know now it's more of a mix of I want to do cards, but I don't want to be all cards unless the situation, like for instance, the engagement that I had last night, I had the opportunity because it was such a big table
Mhm.
to do the parlor stuff that I like, but also sit down and do 30 minutes of card magic and just, have what I wanted to do, but have like, I could improv in between every trick if I wanted to because it was such more of a laid back kind of feel. And I think that's when more card magic comes out. And also to you know, I think that the crowd will dictate how much, because I don't want to be too heavy on cards, but I don't want to leave them out because I mean, that's what I fiddle with. And that's, my nerdy obsession with the magic is the move monkey stuff,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So I do a little bit of coins. I do some minimalism, it's just, I think that really when it boils down to it, it's our tricks are just there to have something to talk about. It's the personality of the crowd and the performer mixing together at one time to create something cool that only the people in the room get to see, that'll never be exactly duplicated again.
Yeah.
And I think that's really where my mind is. I wanted to do it, and that's why I'm sort of using the words in the shows now of experience and,
Mhm.
journey. And I wanted it to be more than, you know, a show. Because I remember as a kid, and I remember probably every magician out there, when their first shows were just, all right, let me do this trick and put that trick up, and let me do this trick and put this trick up.
Right.
And it was basically you were an instructor, you were a demonstrator, and when you become a connector, I guess would be a good word to say it.
Yeah.
It changes the ball game
Yeah.
completely.
Yeah. You have effects like, Groove Electric Switch, and to me, it feels like somewhat of like a camera trick with your Zuzu change. Is that how you say it? Zuzu?
The
Zozo?
Zoso,
Zoso
Zoso,
change?
yeah.
Where are those moves rooted from? And like, how did you, are those moves you've loved forever and they just evolved, or
Well,
how?
the easier one to explain would be the Zoso change, just because of the I was practicing Larry Jennings. I was reading an actual trick in the classic magical Larry Jennings. I can't. It was one of the first three or four in the book, and I think the move was his his vertical optical alignment move. But the deck was brought up, and it was an alignment move that used the thumb to add cards to a spread or outjogged cards in the pack that's already squared. And by accident, I got an action of a card to move kind of funky, and then it just evolved into, the right angles and sitting in front of a mirror and making sure that the angles were right to make it look like a color change. And it's so weird to look from behind versus from the front, because when I teach it, it's just like that. If people are going to see that, it's like they don't see it. It's
Right.
completely invisible. And that was just a move that was, that was a change created from an accident messing with another move,
Usually how it
basically.
happens.
Yeah, that's basically what it was. And then the groove electric switch was even deeper than that. It was just I was fiddling, waiting on some food to come up at a Chinese restaurant here in town. I was getting something to go, and I just pulled my cards out and I was doing all around square ups, but I think I was practicing a Tenkai palm or a Tenkai steel. And I did an all around square up, but I didn't steal the card. I just kept it in there, and the card just rotated around the pack, and it was really weird.
Wow.
And I just kept messing with that. And then other people that I've shown it to at the time were like, well, it's cool, but you're really not doing much. Try to put a feint, because I was trying to make it a control.
Right.
to the top, sort of,
Mhm.
you know, in the act of doing an all around square up, the card comes to the top. But
Yeah.
it just looked funky and weird. And Steve Beam recommended that after I do the move, to just do a fan and then close the fan.
Mhm.
That way, it looks like you're just squaring the cards. And but it didn't work.
Right.
I mean, the card was, but that led me to figure out that I could hide the card in the fan. And then by fiddling with that for many, many months, when I closed the fan, the card seemed to mechanically pop out of the pack. And just with a lot of fidgeting and, constantly messing with it, the switch was, you figured out, well, if I do this, that'll do that. And it goes back to that problem solving that Steve Reynolds talked about when
Yeah.
he was, it's just like I approach magic a lot like that. I sort of, when I create a piece or, create a set, I think at the end and kind of work backwards. But I also think of like certain pieces that, has to be this. I set rules that it can't do this, this, and this. It has to do this, this, and this.
Right.
And I stay pretty strict to those rules, especially like that challenge. I think we were speaking off camera, off tape about the challenging and stuff. But when
Mhm.
and I was just speaking to somebody last night about this at that show, the guy that was interested in magic, the teacher, and he said, it was basically, I've lost my train of thought because I thought I told that story already, but it's completely another aspect. But it's the challenge part of it.
Yeah.
Uh, is going to the castle. I like when I get booked at the castle. I already have an idea that I'm thinking of, and
Mhm.
let's say I'm 80%, 70 to 80% there. That this is going to work, but I'm not 100% sure it's going to work. It's not audience tested yet. Um, the theory and the method is almost there. It's very, very close. And if I get a big gig or a place where I know other magicians are going to be, that has a little bit to do with it, I think, too. But especially, I've made it. The castle. I've played the castle 5 times in the close-up gallery, and started in 2020, and it was right before COVID started. I
Mm.
was the last full week before. That was my debut at the castle. Was the last full week before COVID,
Wow.
and I did a trick that I'd never did that much outside of that room. But then after that break, and when I got the call back, it's like, hey, you want to come back to the castle? I made it a rule that every time I go to the castle, I'm going to do something completely different as a closer, or there's going to be one piece in there that I've never performed anywhere else
Mhm.
that was an idea that is in that 60 to 70 or 80% range of being done, and use that 3 or 4 months uh, to not force it, but to gently nudge it to completion. And I
Mm.
love that. I love that feeling of getting it done.
Yeah.
And I've had the ups of having it completely ready to go and still have a month and a half to practice it.
Mhm.
And I've had that feeling of talking to David Regal at the main bar at the castle
Mhm.
on Monday before my first set, going, I don't think I'm going to do it. I think I'm just going to throw it out. I'm not 100%. And David looked at me. He's like, why the f not
Yeah.
do it?
Yeah.
And I did it, and it was the multiple selection routine that I came up with, and it was one of the most intensive, like, 3 weeks before that, still working on trying to figure out if this was going to work and fly.
Yeah.
It was intense. And then just the ride of after getting that first few performances over with, seeing, well, this does work. And then how it went on from there.
Yeah.
Because and and the only purpose of that for me as a artist or creative type person is, if I'm going to learn something, the best way to do it is to have live audiences.
Mhm.
Why
Yep.
not have it 28? You're going to do it 4 nights a week for 7 nights. You have 28 shows.
Yeah.
So I think that, you know, packaging that set with like really, really good magic that that you could do in your sleep, that are your A pieces, your B pieces that are really, really good, tying that in with something brand new and
Mhm.
making a new set with something that is not audience tested, that is not, got any kind of, backstory to look at and say, well, this went good this show. I
Mhm.
love that feeling of seeing it evolve after 28 days. I mean, it is really, really cool.
You talked about when you were busking how a little girl saw lemons in your pouch, and you're talking about creating something and not being sure about it. How important is the cleanliness aspect to you in in your routine, not just method wise, but like how the audience perceives it? How important is that when you're developing it?
Oh God, I want it to be. I'll self criticize every question. Like, for instance, I've got a version of the Pegasus page that I came up with that I had the idea of, and this was 3 years ago, and did it at the castle. That was the debut. Was at the castle, and I had so many people come up to me afterwards, going, "That was amazing, and it was just so good." And the rules that I had, and I wanted it to be so clean that I did not want any foreign object to pick the page. And I also didn't want any riffle force happening to pick the page.
Mm,
And that's when you, and in my eyes, that's keeping it clean.
yeah.
It's like, you know, if you're doing, and I've told other friends about this too. It's just like, if audiences are way smarter than they were back in before Google and before YouTube.
Oh yeah.
Audiences are very smart. And I think if we there's no reason to give them extra things to ask or avenues to travel down. And if you make it clean, if you make it super clean and you answer all those questions during your performance, the only ending is being fooled and entertained.
Right.
And, it's a prime example of this last castle trip back in April. My good friend Paul Vigil was working the parlor at the same time. And I got to see his act, two or three times. And we, you know, were really tight that week and talked about magic quite a bit. And, when he does this one particular part of his act, I'm not going to say which part, but he basically gives every opportunity for fairness and everything else. And there's nothing, and it's so clear and so precise and so energetic that it builds. So everything, there's no extra pieces, and that's what I think when I create something. So back to that book test or that Pegasus page, I didn't want like a playing card or a bookmark. A bookmark was close because that goes with the book, right?
Mhm.
It's just like I didn't want to have anything foreign introduced just for this.
Yep.
When I figured out how to get the page forced, it was something organic that comes in a book that makes it happen.
Yeah.
And I think that's important when it comes to, you know, producing or not producing, but, you know, coming up with something new. And it doesn't have to be something new. It could be just your version of a
Mhm.
certain trick.
Right.
Is I want to keep it as clean and I want to keep it organic and natural.
Right.
I don't want to have to bring in foreign items for a certain
Mhm.
thing or, I want everything to have a somewhat believable backstory.
Mhm.
And I think that when I talk about certain props in my show, which and really I don't have many props,
Yeah.
I have really cool ways of introducing the props. Um, and it's funny because I would love to tell this if we've got time that at the castle this last trip, I did the ball and base.
I was just gonna bring that up, and I was waiting for a window to talk about that because I think two different things before, and sorry, I don't mean to.
No, please.
The first thing is number one, I don't know if you did it intentionally, and maybe you'll talk about it here in a second. But what a great sort of homage to kind of have, Vernon structure for his castle show, which the rest of the stuff it was, but you opened, he opened with cups and balls, which
Right.
doesn't, but you did ball and vase, which I'm on a huge deep dive with right now with, Mike Gallo's
Uh-huh.
version and
Marlowe's got stuff on that too.
yes, and Skinner does too. I
Yes.
just figured that out. And but seeing you do it, just so the way you did it is just it was great, and just to see it kind of open in like that
Well, thank
Vernon
you.
style. So, anyways, I'll let you. Sorry, I just
No,
wanted to
thank
say.
you. And that was a trick that I wanted to do the trick, but and I didn't want it to just be the ball and base and then
Mhm.
that be it.
Mhm.
and I wanted it to mean something at the end.
Mm,
Because if it, you know, I figured that it was such a weird looking object to bring out
mhm,
that I didn't want to do the trick and put it up. I wanted it to carry on and also have a little bit of a backstory because um it wasn't every magic set. And it
yeah,
is such a simple little tiny prop. And when I saw Mike Gallo do it many, many years ago live at one of the conventions, I absolutely fell in love. I thought that was the coolest thing in the world
mhm,
that you could do that with a cheap
yep,
$4 trick, $2 trick.
yep, and then finish it off the way that you did it and Mike Gallo
Oh,
did
thank
it, I
you.
think is just
Yeah, and I took Mike's idea of, a ball. I didn't want to do uh, that, you know, small ball, big ball, bigger ball, or
mhm,
small ball, different color ball, big
mm,
ball.
yeah,
He's right. It does get a better reaction with the walnut, and I wanted the walnut to mean something,
right.
and that goes back to producing. Why I could not. My brain would not stop after the walnut. I'm like, well, the walnut has to mean something.
Yeah,
It has to mean something,
yeah,
not by force.
yeah,
It has to mean something for the show.
mhm, yeah,
Because if you force it, it becomes really like goofy and like creepy and stuff. It's just
yeah,
not. It's not believable.
yeah,
But if you allow it to organically sit there, and I love it when there was a couple shows when I did that, and I'll slide it off to the left, and it was so cool because one of my friends was actually in the audience, and it was somebody uh, that never been to the castle that got seated up front.
oh,
And
okay.
when I slid the walnut towards her, I was like, "I see you looking at it," and she's like, "Yeah, I'm looking at it because I'm allergic to it." And it was a perfect moment because I slowly took my hand and slid it to the other
Right,
side. But that gives me the natural callback later.
right,
Everything was set for that to happen naturally. And that's when magic in my eyes works really good is when you can bring a prop in and the audience sort of meets you of where you're going with it, then
mhm,
it's not foreign anymore. It's not this weird magic thing that you're doing or well, you had to get this special cup or
right,
this special, thing to
mhm,
do this. It not even talked about then.
yeah, yeah. I think ball and vase, and then cylinder and coins are my 2 big, like, deep dives right now,
Yeah.
and Mike Gallo being able to do both was
Oh yeah.
watching him do it, and I'm jealous that you got to see it in person 'cause I
Yeah,
could only imagine what a treat that was, like, just
Mike fooled me and a lot of people in the same room multiple times.
yeah,
He was such a clever, and he was at my first. I did a convention after the I had the magic shop for 3 years or two and a half. We closed it at the beginning of the year, and then I already had the convention planned, and I went with the convention, but the magic shop closed.
mhm,
And Gallo was among the star-studded lineup I had at the convention I held here in North Carolina, which actually is still going. It's just called something else now, and somebody else runs it. But Mike is the type of performer that is just, he looks like you don't want to cross him,
yeah,
and don't want to make him mad because he looks like he probably could work for the mafia,
yeah,
but it's not true.
yeah,
Not true. He's just a big teddy bear that will just absolutely fool the living crap out of you.
that's funny, that's funny. So the teaching aspect of it, your career is really interesting. You've taught with Penguin and Vanishing Ink, and you have done in-person sessions. What's your process for developing material that you teach versus material that you perform?
Oh yeah. I mean, usually, so I'll release like I released the Pegasus Phage just for a small group of people at the I did a lecture at the PCAM and then I did a lecture at the Chicago Magic Lounge and I released it just for them and explained it. But I'm really not if I come up with something, I'm not really a keep it to myself kind of
Mhm.
person. I'll share it if it's something cool I think that other people could use, or just for the. I don't want it to not be out there for other people to look after I'm gone either. I don't want it to
Yeah,
be a secret, that nobody ever gets to know.
yeah,
So, um, I would, uh, I guess for me the lecturing was a little bit different because some of my stuff is really technical. Like the proof
Yeah.
of the switch is hard. Um, the other stuff is really, I mean, I could lecture on the magic stuff that I was doing was really not something that could be taught in a lecture. But
Yeah.
I did realize that I could teach the excuse me, the Zoso change, and pretty much you could get the mechanics pretty much down pretty fast. So yeah, I mean, I really don't have a definite answer on that. I mean, if there's something that I've done, and if it's something that I've come up with now, some of the stuff might be other people's tricks that I just take to my level.
Mhm.
Meaning my level, not meaning better. I'm taking it into my world.
Yeah.
So I'll use, I've got a couple tricks that B Hill has come out with that's published that I've switched around the meaning or the wording.
Mhm.
You know, there's a lot of tricks like that that I think that's growing up was one of the big things that we I don't know how old you are, but I was right in that verge of the books were kind of fading away and VHS tapes were really getting popular. And then
Mm.
people started learning quickly that you could watch the VHS tape and then do it exactly like that person. And the book forced you to do it like you because you didn't have
Right.
anything to go from. So um, when it comes to that, I think that if you could put it in paper first would be the best thing. But the point is there's other tricks that I use that I wouldn't teach
Yeah.
that are used as a performing piece, or it's just my
Yeah.
take on somebody else's a piece that have been released.
Yeah. Do you think too many magicians are rushing to publish their work or before living with the work?
I don't know. I mean, I'm guilty on both of those things. I
Mhm.
think that sometimes it's a it's time to get this out, or I want to. There's got to be some kind of passion to come out as a creator or to publish something.
Yeah.
To me, magic, the industry has really expanded to a point to where it's completely different 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember, there was probably a good handful of really good effects that would come out. You would read, when I was, back in the late 90s, you had your videos and stuff. I remember the Jay Sankey video was really good. And I remember
Mhm.
all the A1 videos. And that was, to me, that helped me more in the way of going to search out those books then.
Yeah.
Like when I saw John Bannon's Impossibilia A1 tape, I wanted to get the book then.
Yep.
When I saw JC Wagner's, I wanted to get the book then
Mhm.
because there was more in the book. If I like this, then
Mhm.
there's going to be more in the book. So it was kind of kind of hooked together.
Mhm.
And then I think that once, downloads started coming out and the magic was sold per trick, it kind of changed. So it
Yeah.
gave a lot of people out there the false sense of, boy, I can come up with this and become rich really
Right.
quick. And
Yeah.
it's just not the case. And that becomes a rush product, or there's no passion behind it. Everything
Yeah.
that I've released, there's been passion behind it. It was,
Mhm.
the Pegasus page was road tested before I, put that in print. The Lucky Charm, the multiple selection
Mhm.
was worked on for many years behind the scenes, but never performed. But the theories and stuff about it, of what I didn't want it to look like and what I wanted it to look like, was already being thought about for many, many years before it came
Right.
out. And
Mhm.
it's that final piece that gets put in, but you've got to understand this foundation was already built and
Mhm.
just waiting. This was on back order. This piece was on
Yeah.
back order and it got here.
Right.
Oh, well, now we've got a product. And then on the flip side of that, I will take the Erdnase route
Mhm.
with, I needed the money.
Mhm.
If
Yeah.
I'll do a limited run, and if it serves a purpose to get me a little bit of income in between slow times or something. COVID was a weird situation for everybody.
Yeah. For sure.
Being a performer and doing it full time is it goes back to that. We were talking about the restaurant and stuff like that. I mean, it's not the easiest thing in the world to do.
No.
And doing it with, basically starting from nothing is it's really tough, but I wouldn't want it any other way. I like
Mhm.
working this way. I like and I can see the build of it progressing into something, the end goal.
Yeah.
So
Your books, the cards remain the same and trampled under cards. They feel like there's more of a mindset than just you teaching routines in there. What do you want when someone purchases it or gets it from somewhere? What do you want the reader to kind of walk away with after reading your work?
I mean, I really don't. I do get into a little bit of theory, but it's basically just and all those books really are, they're not in print anymore. None of them are, I don't believe. I see them pop up from time to time, but it's really just the thinking behind the move and the journey on what the trick or effect that I was coming up with, or it was just an offering for, like I said, here recently. The last, I haven't done. I think the Nothing to Hide was the last like collaboration I had with other people, and then I did just little small booklets of, something that I worked on for a while and thought that people might get a kick out of, and produced it. I really think it's more of getting it out on record, and
Mhm.
then I want them to learn the move, and then it's also opening that door to, you know, if you need help with it, reach out, because I have
Right.
no problem.
Yeah.
If you see me do something at a convention, or if you see it on, if it's something if you haven't bought, that's a little bit different, because I can't say the stuff that I'm not going to teach you the stuff that Penguin's selling. That would be wrong for Penguin. But if you've bought it and you're having trouble with it, I'm always open to,
Mhm.
help people get it, or any kind of tips and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I want them to feel inspired. There was a small little project I did one time called Process One, which was just I can't even remember the trick actually, but it was just I was trying to tell the reader to go on this journey with me. And I would come up with a little bit and then stop. It's like, work on this for like 2 or 3 days. And then don't read the next part until you work on this. And let's see where we match up.
Right.
And I guess it was just a weird experiment to try to
Yeah.
see if you could, just, I think that's the cool part of creating magic, is
Mhm.
that aha moment, or that, you know and it could come at any moment or any time, especially if there's something like, I've got stuff in notebooks and in the back of my brain that I've been thinking about, that I've wanted to do for 20 years, and it's still not quite there.
Yeah.
But then there's stuff that, you'll think about for a couple years or a couple months, and if you really really think about it, it just some of the stuff, just that aha moment that leads you to something else, that just like, wow, that's that backward piece that I've
Yep.
been in to sit down on top.
Yeah. You've talked about, your beginnings of working in a theme park and having a friend there with you or a peer with you, um, and different people along your journey. How important is community to your growth as a magician? And do you think we've lost anything as the scene has kind of moved more online?
That is a very good question. I think that, it was really tough for me to comprehend doing magic shows on Zoom. I
Uh-huh.
really just did not. I did not do any magic Zoom shows during COVID. I just thought that was just not the. I didn't understand how that would be entertaining,
Yeah.
because you could go online and watch all the magic shows you wanted to, that were professionally produced. I know
Uh-huh.
it was, people wanted to connect, but I just couldn't really comprehend the idea with that. But as terms of friendships and stuff, I try to keep you know, I try to keep a pretty small circle of people that, for me, it's personality.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I want you to be likable. I want to be likable. And if there's any kind of not, you know, I get along with pretty much everybody.
Yeah.
And I try to surround myself with people that are, they don't have to think like me,
Uh-huh.
but they're fun to be around. You know,
Yeah.
they're I want to be able to, you know, bring joy into people's life, just like they bring joy into my and my
Yeah.
friends. All my friends do that in some way
100%.
or another.
100%. Who were you?
And then that's that tight friendship too, like that. When the magician there at Carowinds, his name's Scott Link, and
Yeah.
we've been friends for 40 years. You
Mhm.
know, and
Wow.
that's a long time to be friends with somebody, and we've been through ups and downs and seen stuff to happen, and we're not just magic buddies anymore. We're buddies, and that's
Yeah.
really where it boils down to. I've got a lot of magic friends, but I've got a lot of friend magic
Uh-huh.
buddies. that have become really, really close friends to me. And it all because of magic.
Yeah. I think it's really important. I also think, you said something interesting about, being like-minded and that sort of thing. I also think it helps in terms of the creative process when you're needing to bounce around ideas for them not to maybe have the same skill set. Maybe, they're versed in
Yeah.
coins more so than cards or, whatever. Because they're seeing things from a different lens, sort of.
Oh,
They're.
of course, 100% agree. I mean, if we, and it's just, it goes back to that, unfortunately, the Gazzo thing was so big and so strong when his street act came out that everybody was doing the exact same act all over the country because it knew it would make money. And yeah, it was great and stuff, but it just, it's hard to have all the same.
Yeah.
But when it comes to friends, I would like, I've got friends that aren't into heavy magic with
Hmm.
cards and can't do hard card slides, but we could still talk about card slides and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. Who were your heroes or mentors in Magic growing up? You talked about Copperfield a little bit, and
Yeah, I mean that was just, Copperfield was something that was always there every year. You could just bet that Copperfield was going to come on and do an hour show, and then Penn and Teller. Obviously, I like the. My dad was a Saturday Night Live fan, so he introduced me to SNL when I was a kid. So,
uh
yeah, and even going back, Harry Anderson
huh.
was on SNL. I love Night Court, because for me, when I would go on vacation, I would look in the magic in the yellow pages, see if there was a magic store.
Yeah.
And when it came to TV, I would always see if there was magic on TV.
Yeah.
And so that was the mentors, was seeing the magic on TV. I remember, Harry Anderson, Penn and Teller, David Copperfield, and then, Scott Link was a big mentor, earlier on because he taught me about scripting. He taught me about, he was an experienced magician. I was not. And he taught me about the other side of magic. So are you
Uh-huh.
still there? There we go. And then
Yeah, I'm still here.
and then after that, I wouldn't really call it a mentor, but it was an inspiration. Was when I was 16, getting ready to turn 17, my uncle Miles, told my dad that he went to school with a very famous magician.
Okay.
And that magician turned out to be Paul Gertner.
Oh,
And
wow.
my dad's from Pittsburgh. I had five brothers, so I had five uncles. And my uncle Miles was the youngest of the five or the six, and he went to high school with Paul Gertner at North Carolina High School. So he sent me a book called Steel and Silver that was inscribed because my uncle owned a traveling agency and was going to use Paul at a trade show. And it was just this was I think it was 94, Christmas of 94. And I'd already had the job at Carowinds, and I got this book in the mail. And you talk about eye opening, because I
Mhm.
mean, the very first magic book that I would probably say I had was the Amateur Magician's Handbook.
Right.
That was a book that was not a layperson's book, but it really is a great book. But
Yeah.
seeing that Steel and Silver, that was the inspiration of wow,
Mhm.
there's a whole nother world out there that I do
Yeah.
not even know about.
Yes, absolutely. Paul will be here in September for the, Atlanta Harvest Convention.
Nice.
Hopefully, I can, dip in, get a ticket, and go see him, and I've never seen
Paul's
his work in person, so.
Paul's a very, very classy performer. He's just his performing style and his thinking had a lot of impact on me growing up.
Yeah.
Lots. I mean, I got to witness. It was funny when you think about, this magic is such a weird thing because you can go and get a magic set and do magic for a couple weeks and then call yourself a magician. Now,
Right.
if you went to a guitar store or a piano store or an art store, maybe not so much the art, but piano, something that uses sound and there's a right way and a wrong way of doing it. You know, you're not a guitarist yet. You're learning
Right.
guitar, but you're not a guitarist.
Right.
My mind frame at the time when I was 17. I just turned 18. I just turned 18. It was 1995, and Paul invited me up to Pittsburgh to see him, Paul Gertner. And I drove by myself to Pittsburgh, and I was thinking I was going to go up there and wow him with my double lift in my ambitious card routine, and he was gonna take me under his wings, and I was gonna be doing trade show magic. That's honestly what my thought was. So and that was so far from, because he blew me so far away.
Right.
He was the greatest host. He picked me up from the hotel. We went out to eat, and he's like, "I'm going to take you to the Cuckoo's Nest." So we went to the Cuckoo's Nest, the magic store, and then we went back to his house. And he sat down at his kitchen table, and he's like, "What do you want to see?" And I'm like, "Just do it. Just do the stuff
Yeah.
for the book."
Yeah.
And I got to see every request that I made at his kitchen table, and he blew me away, dude. Blew me away. And
Amazing.
he was so open to showing me anything I wanted to see and encouraging me not to stop.
Mhm.
And that was a life changing moment to see that, legend take the time to, you know, I couldn't, I was not even close to being a
Yeah.
good performer yet.
Yeah. Do
And it
you
was
still
also very humbling. It was also set you in your place. It was a reality check that I definitely needed, because I think that sometimes in in all creative things there is some false sense of accomplishment that you haven't accomplished anything yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that that hurts performers later on in life. And for me, that was a very good reality check. Is like, dude, you're not shit. You need to,
Yeah.
but you can be later on, but let me show you the right way. And I think that was a really cool moment for me to go,
Mhm.
hey, I've got some work to do. And it was
Yeah.
very inspiring.
Do you still actively jam with other magicians, or do you just kind of prefer to Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've got my real good friend Jeff Korn. I think he's been on your podcast before.
He has.
Uh,
Incredible
we
friend too. Yes.
Yeah, we talk quite a bit. I've got some buddies here with Chaston Criswell and Scott Link, and there is a group here in town that gets together. A new guy. We have a newer magician that moved from Colorado, originally from Dayton, Ohio, from Colorado to Charlotte, and his name's Evan Driggs, and he's a younger guy, and is almost 30, but just a fresh face that's really gelled well with the small circle that I've got. That he's got a good personality, good thinking, and that's
That's
so I
cool.
do like that. And I think that's important, is having those jam sessions with people that um you know
Yeah.
all mesh personality wise, because then you can have fun. It's not like let me show you this, let me show you this, let me show you that. It's a community effort
Huh.
to really work on something.
Yeah, I think the magic culture right now is really interesting, and I'm not going to dive too much into magic politics on here, but I think the magic scene is kind of evolving a little bit right now, and it's happening pretty quickly. What do you think, if you've been noticing it, what do you think it's doing right, and what do you think it's missing?
um I think that this it's definitely preserving when it comes to publications and stuff. Vanishing Ink's doing a great job at preserving so future generations can have books. I think that's important. I think the master classes and when Penguin did the Penguin live lectures and
Mhm.
the live acts, I think that's really valuable stuff to grab on tape, because if you think about it, we're lucky to have the little clips we have of Houdini, and
Right.
we're really lucky to have clips of Vernon on the Revelation tapes
Yep.
with Amar and stuff. So you got
Mhm.
to think about that. Dude, that was only like what? We're not even 100 years. That wasn't 100 years ago. That was like 60 years ago.
Yeah.
So the amount of stuff that we've captured for future generations is great.
Mhm.
The problem is, in my eyes, is saturation. It's like too much
Mhm.
of other stuff is, pot on top of that.
Mhm.
So then you've got to go through and, you know, not everything is a magic trick.
Mhm. Yeah.
Not everything is something that should be taken to market.
Mm. Yeah.
So I
Yeah, I
think
think
that's,
the market is really interesting to me. I couldn't
but
even
magic as an art is evolving, and I think that's
Yeah.
good. I don't think that I think that nowadays people know what close up magic is. I don't know, but in the '90s, when I would talk to somebody about close up magic, is like, what do you mean close up magic?
Well, even
I
5 years ago, before the
Even 5 years
pandemic.
ago, right? I mean, I think that um, Penn and Teller helped that, and I think that when it looks to how magic has evolved, I love talking about this because it makes you get grounded again.
Mhm.
Every magician that saw David Blaine's first special
Right.
probably had a little bit of jealousy and anger
Mhm.
going, I could do this same damn
Mhm.
thing. But you didn't. You
Right.
didn't. But David Blaine gave us all that gift. He let everybody in the magic world know what close up magic
Mhm.
and the kind of stuff that we want. He made it easier for everybody.
Yeah.
Penn and Teller's Fool Us has
Mhm.
made it easier for people to know what close up magic is and card tricks. And,
Mhm.
it's different than what Copperfield did.
Yes.
Copperfield had this magic show, but this was that reality cops kind of TV.
Mhm.
And, it was bringing magic into the spotlight again.
Yeah.
So I think that's good. I think that's great. Even if it's bad, and even if it's bad and not good magic, it's still magic is known more now than it was 2015. It gets better. It gets better.
Yeah.
People look at all the venues. Look at all the
Mhm.
venues everywhere,
Yep.
and that's what my focus has been on for the last, you know, ever since COVID. My focus has been on. I want to either run a venue or have a venue. I think the magic venues are the greatest thing going down in magic.
Correct. Yeah, I think they're the ones. It's a great example. I think we're going through a really interesting resurgence right now within the magic world. I think there's a culture going on, and I'm not going to say it's necessarily like a counterculture or going against. I didn't even know of another magician until like I was in my late teens, early 20s.
Oh wow! Like
In
other
terms of
magicians,
like, I
like in your
didn't
town, or the other. Like, what do you mean? Like,
in general, like I didn't know other magicians existed until like I had been buying books, right? So like in
right?
videos, so I knew there was magicians, but I didn't know like I didn't meet another magician until
Gotcha,
I was in my late teens, early
gotcha,
20s.
gotcha, gotcha, gotcha.
And that was really interesting. It's really interesting cuz now we're kind of going back to like, kind of like the wizard's way of solitude of where we're studying and we're practicing and we're, some people are recording and some people are and we're learning and improving, and then we're going out into the world and we're sharing that magic with audiences. And it's kind of like, I think that side of it is kind of being talked about more,
Yeah.
kind of the solitude of it all as a magician about, I spend 3 hours doing this and I, this is my process and everything like that.
Well, I think that. I think the I think the ideas come out in front of other people's, but
Yeah.
the nuts and stuff, the real
Yeah.
use of it is all by yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll lay in bed and think about certain
Magic.
problems I've got in a trick going.
Yeah.
All right, mind, I'm getting ready to fall asleep. Let's just go on this little dream sequence here with me, and I might not fall asleep for 30 minutes, but I'm just I'm
Yeah.
in that state of very deep relaxation, and those are that solitude and of
Mhm.
you know getting so mad at something because it doesn't work after spending time on it. Like I remember the prime example was the ending of the last show with the ball and vase. It was certain things I did not want to do at
Mhm.
Castle, and I bought a bunch of envelopes and everything else from Amazon, and you know had everything set up to do it, and I'm like, nope, this is
Mhm.
not gonna happen because
Yeah.
just I spent I work from home and basically pro- or producing shows. That's a side subject we can talk about when we wrap up. But
Yeah.
um, so I'm working on marketing the shows, and I'm working on new ways to end the show and ways to get people involved in social stuff, so they'll talk about it. And
Yeah.
um, when you sit and work on something for a long time and then it doesn't come to and it's not wasted time, but boy is it just a frustrating type of feeling that I don't want anybody else around me when I'm going through that anyways.
Yeah.
I'd rather it be
Yeah.
by myself anyways.
Yeah. So you've been in the game for about 25 years plus. How has your love for magic evolved? Is it deeper now? Do you find it like do you have strange relationships with it sometimes, more spiritual?
It's I think like we talked earlier, there's moments where um it's really really enjoyable and really really fun, and there's moments
Mhm.
like it's very frustrating and very not frustrating, just it's just not what it usually is.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think that every artist has to go through that self criticizing state of you know it you know having
Yeah.
certain successes and then falling short on something else, or having
Mhm.
that real good run of stuff and then it falls short, and or not fall short, but it doesn't. Scott's got my buddy Scott Link's got a great way of it's like you're launching, but
Mhm.
you're only orbiting or failure to even to start to orbit yet. You've
Yeah.
been launched and you're and then when you get around to starting to orbit, it either fails or it comes back to Earth, or
Mhm.
it decides to fly a little bit lower, and those kind of things are really frustrating. But I've learned that I've got to focus on it's two separate things. I can't have the business part of magic reflect and dictate how the creation of magic and the experience goes.
Yeah.
It's got to be separate. So I try to give myself time to you know work on the marketing side of the shows,
Mhm.
uh, and then completely disconnect from that and go watch like something that has
Yeah.
nothing to do with anything I'm going to do in the show, but it's just like go watch an old Mike Gallo,
Mhm.
tape or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Even then, so, when I'm working on things, I get very frustrated and I have to kind of exit magic just for like a day or two and I'm putting on something, visually I need to kind of escape from what I'm working on, so I'll put on, whatever's on TV or something. And the funny part is I'm not even really watching it. I'm still thinking about the magic, so it doesn't really work.
Oh yeah.
I
Are
I
you a
kind of
music
have
fan
to.
too? Do you listen to a lot of
Yo,
music?
yeah.
So,
Love music.
so that's another thing that's really, I'll put music on if I'm not. if I'm stumped, not really stumped, but if I'm stuck in a like a I guess a rotation of all the avenues I'm trying so far, and nothing's sticking to the wall yet.
Mhm.
I'm throwing a
Yeah.
lot of it, but nothing's sticking.
For
And
me, it's
sometimes
art.
just it's what,
Art, like drawing
yeah,
and painting
yeah,
and
and it
pastels, like
just gets something because the problem, and I guess in my eyes the problem is and I've had this before when I've been booked at places and the show gets canceled or it gets
mm,
postponed.
mhm,
That energy, that creative, the reason why we do this stuff, the reason
mhm,
why we do it is that creative stuff has to get out of us.
mhm.
And if it doesn't get out of us, I feel like it blocks other things because it still wants to get out and play because there's a dopamine for performers that after show that we're craving, you know, that we want to feel the after effects of a good show, how
Yeah.
it connected with the audience, how that's going to make us remember. And if we don't get that, I feel like it. So when you're working on something and it's really frustrating, you've got to sit magic down for a second. I feel like
Mhm.
you still got all those creative juices have been running to fix this or to work on this, and then it's not quite where you want it to be. Those creative juices got to go somewhere. So having that other form of outlet is, I could totally see the drawing and the painting and pastels being a way of,
Yeah.
I guess, subconsciously telling yourself it's okay not to think about this so
Mhm.
hard. And let me think
Yeah.
about this that's fun. And then it comes more naturally. And I think for me, I had those aha moments when I let my guard down.
Yeah. Yep. What's still left for you to explore in your career? Like what corners of magic still excite you? Or what's
Um,
interesting to you right now?
my focus right now, and I think it's captured me as once seeing and experiencing a lot of the different magic venues.
Mm,
I've got that deep down. I want to have I want to be able to produce what if I could do it, I want to be able to produce one the way I would see it,
mhm.
and that's really what I'm focusing on is just an experience of close up magic and parlor magic. So, people can choose to either see a close up show at one venue or a parlor
Mhm.
show at another venue. And having a variety of, magicians coming in, but it's really just the theme. And, I like the aspect of producing and making all the parts move and,
Right.
starting a show from, we've been working on this for a number of years in Asheville, and
Mhm.
that's currently what I'm wearing. And you listeners can check it out. It's AshevilleMagicShow.com, and it's based on the Asheville Magic Company. That we're producing small, intimate shows of 25 to like I think our top show right now is 48, and it's a dinner show of
Mhm.
that's really right now only running about 4 times a month, but it's probably going to change now. The other
Yeah.
shows are there's one in a speakeasy, and there's another one in a small bar, uh, crafty cocktail bar. That really was the
Cool.
root of all this that started it back,
Mhm.
back when I lived there 12 years ago. We were doing close up shows. They have a big coffee table, and I would sit down. Then there was 15 chairs around me, and everybody would come and sit at this one table. And then every 30 minutes, the next group would come in and sit at this table, and they would take their seats. And it was just a cycle of people, having cocktails and doing this. And it's evolved into, um, you know, and able to produce shows, weekly shows at some point. Right now, we're running about 3 shows a month, which was, I thought would could take a lot longer, but we're
Mhm.
we're actually doing pretty well with Magic is really hot right now, and
Yeah.
people love to see a cool magic show. And I think that goes back to what we talked about, man. We would not be sitting here right now if it wasn't really you know uh, a trifecta of certain things happening with the evolution of magic. You
Right.
know, people realizing what the Magic Castle is, but having other venues like the Magic Castle around the country. You know,
Right.
Chicago having their resurgence of
Mhm.
magic that, really at the heart of Marlowe and that
Mhm.
world. Boy, could you imagine living in a city that had 12 magic bars?
Right.
I mean, good Lord. I
Yeah.
mean, it seems like a fantasy. And I think that is now so open in the public that, it's funny. I tell the venue owner that we're working with right now, and he's like, "This is an all new show," and I've had the other venue guy say the same thing. It's a brand new show, right? I'm like,
Mhm.
what do you mean? I mean, there's certain things in the show that are the same every time, and it really doesn't matter what's in the show. It's the experience, and to them, they're expecting it to be different every
Right.
time, and it's just I have to sit them down and I have to look at them and I'm like, listen, if we do a show every week, then only 160 people get to see our show a month.
Right.
And I seriously doubt, and I know for a fact from numbers that those 160 people um, are probably not going to come back within the next 2 months. And if they
Interesting.
do, they're probably going to bring a friend with them, which is normally
Mhm.
the case, or they tell somebody to go for a special occasion or something like that.
Right.
And I also think, from my experience of asking people after shows, they want to see what they saw
Mhm.
to a certain extent.
Yeah.
And that's the only weird thing that I'm trying to figure out what the next step is with, how to create that. I tried to explain it as a comedian goes and does the same set every
Mhm.
night. And when he comes back, he's probably going to do a little bit of that material again, especially if they're a younger comedian. But in the world of magic, I don't think that's they. I think it's they expect us to have this never. It's like I can't remember who. I think it was Steinmeier. Didn't he say
Mhm.
that at the beginning of the Art of Magic that there's everybody thinks we've got this big secret vault of secrets and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean that it's just that's not the case. It's just
Yeah.
not.
It's interesting, I think of a time when Michael Skinner was at the Nugget, right? And the legend and the lore around that, and just the fact that he was performing
Yes.
and not doing the same material like
Yeah.
at all
Yeah.
is crazy to me. And then you listen to like the Skinner tapes and you understand that like this is someone, talk about like studying and practicing and performing.
Yes.
This was someone who was reading so much, creating so much. And I think the reason why he was able to do not the same stuff over and over again was because he was just constantly moving forward on on his magic,
Yeah.
always thinking about it and evolving it and changing it and like all the time. Like if you listen to the Skinner tapes, the fact that he was submerged the way he was and like he was magic. Like he literally thought about it all the time.
Yeah, and I
It's
think
amazing.
I've heard stories about Marlowe being the same way. And if you
Right.
look at his way of, it's completely different ends of the rope there. You've
Mhm.
got one guy and Michael Skinner performing magic for lay people and probably also performing for the same people that would bring people in because of who he was. So
Right.
he was almost forced to
Mhm.
have different material in those occasions. And then you had somebody that, there was stories about Marlowe, staying in the car when they were
Mhm.
going out to eat and where's he at? He's still in the car working on
Yeah.
counting three cards as four cards.
On the wooden slab, yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
and then
It's
it's so funny how magic could take control. And if you have an imagination and a small skill set, it could really take you on a fascinating journey.
oh yeah.
Uh, and it's really fun to see the end results and just to see a good match. Like, uh, I don't know. I had a great, I want to talk about just for a second. This is
Yeah.
completely
Absolutely.
different changes of subject, but when we're talking about the evolution of magic,
Yeah.
I have not enjoyed a TV magic show like I did the Magic Lovers.
I was just talking about this with a friend
Let,
literally yesterday.
I mean, it made me feel like a layperson.
Yeah.
It was not.
Yes.
To me, it wasn't cheesy, but it was cheesy when it had to be. Like I love the
Mhm.
"Hey, buddy" looking in the camera.
Mhm.
I love the way that it took the audience on this really cool ride,
Mhm.
and it was just it was very it was I can't say it was new because it's really not. We've seen this. It was just
Mhm.
the way it was produced and the way Justin is on stage really surprised me,
Mhm.
and it was so good to me. Did you enjoy it?
You're talking about Justin Willman's
Mag-
special?
the Magic Lovers, the newest. Yes,
Yeah, yeah. I
yes,
really enjoyed it. It was produced really well. I agree with you. I felt like I wasn't necessarily a magician watching another magician.
yes, yes.
And I don't want to talk about my politics too much, but I hate that. I hate, the feeling of magicians performing for other magicians. There's something about it that I sometimes find really cringy. And with this special, I did not feel that way at all. I
Right,
really felt like it was, yeah, like I was part of the audience.
and you were entertained.
Yeah.
And
It
I really enjoyed it, and I know exactly what you mean, and I'm not going to talk politics, but I feel my take. It took me a long time to be able to perform for other magicians in a
mhm.
like non-jamming. It's like I could show somebody a move, I could show somebody part of a routine, but
Mhm.
I'm not going to perform for another magician like I would
Right.
perform for lay people. It was just so weird for me to do that.
Mhm.
Um, and I wish it wasn't like that in the world of magic because it is
Right.
sometimes, but I guess I look at it when I think about these things and the things that make me just step back and reflect. It's like, I
Mhm.
guess that's got to be if you were a guitarist and you had a friend there and you really wanted to, you would
Mhm.
probably want to impress him.
Yeah.
But I don't think necessarily in the world of magic sometimes the word impress is the right word in a good sense. It's used in the uh, uh, better sense.
Yeah.
It's like, look, I'm better sense in showing instead of. It's just a weird thing in
Yeah.
magicians, man. It's just we're weird, nerdy people, and like I said at the beginning, it's so easy. It's one of the easiest things to become as a magician.
Yeah. Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
it's one of the
No.
easiest things to become. So, unfortunately, there's sometimes we have to, you know,
Yeah.
deal with circumstances.
Yeah. I think the intention of hanging out with other magicians is, like you said, I keep a very tight circle. And when I do want to, have somebody be part of it, I don't even like, I'm not really interested in seeing their magic. I want to know who they are as a person
Yeah,
and
I mean,
being friends with them. And then maybe I may go an entire lifetime without seeing your magic. I don't know.
right,
It's
and
not
it magic becomes like this. I don't know.
bonus.
It's like it's just like it's a second that like
Yeah.
it brought my buddies that I know now, my closest friends. Magic was the thing that got us together. But it was going to hang out afterwards and just hanging out and talk because we can't talk magic all the time.
Right.
We were young. We were into other things. We would tell stories and
Mhm.
and it was learning about what was going on and it was just growing up and we magic became a we could totally not be talking about magic for weeks and not even
Mhm.
me and Corn will talk about music or movies or
Mhm.
comedy and not even mention magic for like days sometimes.
Yeah.
And then text somebody at like 12 o'clock in the morning and go, dude, I just read something that will blow your mind. And
Yeah.
then we'll talk about magic for like 4 weeks.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. I think it's yeah. Yeah. I'm currently in a situation where I'm like I've been invited to go hang out with magicians and the scene here isn't really, my cup of tea and that's fine. I have nothing bad to say about it. But like Shane Cobalt's a really close friend of mine and
Mm,
I talk to him, very often and when we talk it's like we talk for a long time and it's Corn is the same way and it's
yeah.
just one of those things where it's like we don't even talk. Me and Shane don't even talk about magic. We've talked about everything else in the world.
Right.
And then he'll be like, "Oh, by the way, I'm going to do this show, and I was thinking about doing this, and da 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 da." And like you said, we'll talk about that for another few weeks,
Right.
texting each other.
Right. But and it's just like it's like a background conversation
Yeah,
going on with somebody that serves the same interests with you, and it's like to me it's like I have really close friends that are I've got a friend that's not a magician, but he was a musician. He played the guitar and he messed around with the drums, and I'm a drummer, so that connected us. And it was
yeah,
a mutual friend. He found out I did magic, and then he loved seeing magic, and we just became and he's became one of my closest buddies. And
that's cool.
all it is just because I he's creative though. But the point of this
Hmm.
was of having that creative juice to where you could throw something off somebody that doesn't do magic, um,
Yeah,
and still have it's it's weird how we become friends with certain people.
yeah. That's how I felt about like Willman's new special. Was like I just really felt like it was more inspiring than it was like another magic special, and
Oh,
we're watching it, and
it's so enjoyable to watch something like that. I remember watching a show that came on. It was Jonathan Winter's comedy and magic show. It came on. It's like I was. It was so weird, dude. And this, it's like these snapshots of when you were a kid. I remember
mm,
staying up one night, and I was watching Showtime, and a movie that we were all watching as a family went off. Everybody got up, to go to bed, and that special feature presentation pops up on
hmm,
Showtime. Like it was, I knew it was going to be something like a music or a variety or a comedy. I didn't know
right,
what it was,
right,
and it turned out to be Jonathan. I was like, please be magic, and it turned out to be Jonathan Winter's magic and comedy show.
huh?
Jonathan Winters hosted it, and it had a I can't remember the magician. Um, I cannot remember the name of the magician, but
Yeah.
Johnny Fox was on it,
Oh wow.
did the sword swallowing, and the Pendragons were on it and did the ending.
Oh wow.
And there was a comedy magician in the beginning,
Yeah.
and it was in a theater. And I think that seeing Justin on other stuff on screen versus seeing him in the theater really just like I did I that's just it was just a great it was awesome, dude. I really enjoyed it. And I
Yeah.
encouraged other people that I know that are not magicians to watch it. I was like, "Hey, you need to watch this. It's really good.
Yeah.
You'll enjoy
Yeah.
it."
I think, there's so much footage. I'm sure there's so much footage from like HBO and Showtime. They had those like magic moments with Dick Cavett, I think was
Yes.
HBO.
Yep.
I've only seen like one or two of them, but I'm sure there's so many, that who
That would
knows
be
where they are.
that'd be so cool if they could release those and have those come back to life and stuff.
Yeah, all that stuff. I would love for it to be re-released. Even like the World's Greatest Magic, like you can get them. I think someone posted them somewhere, but it's great to go back and like be inspired by stuff like that. Like I'm really inspired by like comedians right now, like watching their quality of the shows that they used to put on, just from like opening to closing is just, there's something about it. And even like watching, like I'm a really big Sinatra fan, but and watching his older shows and then when he came back, just the quality of the
Yeah.
shows, there's a substance there that doesn't exist. So now I feel like we're seeing a resurgence of that where there's substance in magic shows because I've seen a lot of really shitty magic shows. You go and watch and you're like, oh, this is
Yeah.
horrible,
It's just
and I
I
think
mean
we're
I mean
understanding that there's substance again. You can create a really good show.
right, you can create a really good show that does not involve an envelope with a question mark on it. And that's one of my biggest peeves about in going back and just calling back about being organic and stuff and
Hmm.
being clean is like I know that question mark means a question for the audience, but
Hmm.
I know what's in it, so why would I have to put a question mark on it? You know,
Yeah.
have it addressed to somebody or give it to somebody. I think is a much better because I feel like why what's in that? Well, he knows what's in it.
Yeah.
He put
Yeah.
it in there. I mean,
Yeah.
come on, people.
Yeah. Right now I'm working on something. Well, I don't know if I want to talk about this. I'm working on something where I don't like card to wallet. I love card to
Right,
wallet, the premise of it, but I don't. No one's carrying around a wallet in their breast pockets anymore.
right,
You know, nobody's. I don't even carry around a wallet really on me that
right.
much. Um, so shout out to Mike Paldino, sent me his variation of it with mail. Mail is still pretty relevant, I think, for the most part,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah,
great. And now I'm working on it in a certain aspect, which we can talk about off camera. But
most definitely.
yeah, it's definitely something that like I'm still trying to play with it and get it right. But so we're gonna close out. I do have some rapid fire questions for you,
All right,
just for shits and gigs.
all right.
Um, Trick you wish you created.
Oh God. Um. Jeez. Golly. That's a hard. I wasn't
We
expecting
could
that
skip
one.
it. We can go to another one. Skip.
No, it's supposed to be rapid fire. Probably uh, a good rising card effect,
Yeah.
like
Okay.
like a really cool rising card effect.
Yeah. Most underrated slight in the card world or coin or just in general.
Um, just a key card.
Yeah. Best jam session you've ever had.
Oh gosh. Oh my God. That's a. I can't put. I mean, every one of them. Every single damn one of them. I mean,
Deck a card.
you can't put a. I mean, it's just every one of them. I mean, every
Yeah.
one of them's got a certain memory. Or it's so funny you said that because uh, we were driving. I have a buddy of mine. I don't know if his name's Randy Shirley, old buddy from here in North Carolina that doesn't live in the states anymore. I don't believe, but back in the day, 30 years ago, he was the gentleman that introduced me to Marlo. We were standing in a book section. He said Marlo, and we just passed the Denny's that's closed down now. That's nothing.
Mm,
That I looked at my wife and I was like, you would never believe this, but as a 16, 17, and 18-year-old, my nights were spent at that restaurant working on magic tricks till like
wow.
4 o'clock in the morning.
That's a great story. Or
Yeah,
memory.
yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
that's just you can't put a best on that. So I'm
Right.
sorry to interrupt you. That was
No, not
defense.
at all.
Fire
No.
questions.
Deck of cards that you're loyal to.
Probably just the Arcos if you could find them, but
Yeah.
bicycles is what I use for. But a good deck of the Arcos or Ohio Prince really good.
If you could go back to that 17-year-old kid who's doing 8 shows a day, what would you tell him?
Um, this is it. Don't waste your time on other stuff. This is what you want to do. So put all your effort into you know. I wish I would have known to go around the greats earlier and to know like I remember like being 22 and not really knowing. I knew Tom Sini, but I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know Johnny Thompson. I knew the character
Right.
Tom Sini, but I
Mm,
didn't know Johnny Thompson was a legend.
right.
And I
Mm-hmm.
went to a convention and saw the act, the Tom Sini act, completely was crying. It was so funny
Mm-hmm.
and thought that was it. And boy, if I would have known to go and, you know, talk to that man,
Yeah.
that's the kind of stuff that I regret.
Yeah.
Not really regret, but would go back and say, hey, do this, do this.
Yeah. Well, thank you for taking the time to sit
Yeah,
down with me. Thank
yeah,
you
man.
for time of your day and chatting
I
with me.
appreciate you too having me on, and it's been a really interesting conversation. I liked it.
Where can people find you if young magicians are interested in reaching out to you? They hear this, they're inspired.
Yeah,
Anybody?
you can email me at docthemagician.com, docthemagician.com. You can check that website out, or you can check out if you're local to North Carolina or Tennessee or traveling to Asheville, you can check out AshevilleMagicShow.com. And then Penguin and Vanishing Ink. If you just type in my name's got the goods that you can check out.
Awesome. Well, I'm
Yeah.
gonna stop the recording. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks, Benny. Thank you very much.